Okay, today's big show is on culture. This is the introduction to our unit on culture. So, who decided that cars are a desirable thing to own? We all think we like cars, but why should we like automobiles? Why not have just all public transportation? Who decided it's a good thing to keep a dog in the house? Not every culture around the world would even think about keeping a dog in the house. Who decided that girls can wear pants or skirts, but boys should only wear pants? I know some boys will wear skirts, and like they have the Scottish kilt is like a skirt, but that's not something that I could wear to work. Who decided that pizza is good to eat? Not every culture would think that the pizza we would eat would be considered good to eat. Well, culture is the knowledge, language, values, customs, and physical objects that are passed from generation to generation among members of a group. And not everything that we have becomes part of our permanent culture. Some popular fads go away almost as quickly as they arrived. And if in this picture you see on the left is the pet rock. So maybe 40 years ago, it was popular. Somebody put googly eyes on, glued them on rocks, and you would buy them. And you'd buy little furniture and little outfits to put on your pet rocks, and you'd put them on your desk, and they were your pet rocks. The middle picture is something called orbits, and this was from around 1990. It's a carbonated beverage, and those are little pellets that are kind of like gelatin. And when you drink it, you can feel little chunks going down your throat. It didn't last, just like pet rocks didn't last. You know, society is a group of people who live in a defined territory and participate in a common culture. And it's like you see in this picture, these are a bunch of people all doing the same thing. As you can probably guess, they're watching a 3D movie. Instincts are genetically inherited patterns of behavior. Things that you just naturally would do. You don't really learn them. It's more instinctual. Heredity affects behavior. Genetic factors play a role in general intelligence and personality traits like kindness and sociability or aggressiveness. Now, we're talking about this because culture is about learned things passed down, but there's also an element of genetics or things that you were born with. And that leads us to this nature versus nurture debate. Is a person's development predisposed in his or her DNA, or is the majority of it influenced by life experiences, environment? In other words, are you the way you are because of genetics, or does your culture have a bigger impact on that? Both heredity and your environment play important roles in human development. Look at your culture is important, and so is what you're born with, your heredity. The coding of genes in each cell in humans determine the different traits that we have, such as eye color and hair color and ear size and height and other traits. The possibility also exists that abstract attributes like personality, intelligence, sexual orientation, likes and dislikes are gene coded in our DNA. That's still being explored to a certain degree, but there are some things. We do know that some people, for example, have a brain that's more wired to be for addiction, and you are finding it easier to become addicted to things than other people. That's something that you're born with. I used to work with a PE teacher, and he was a big smoker, 2 packs a day, chain smoked, and then he decided he would stop smoking, and he started running. And I remember seeing him run. He would run from the middle school down Aurora, past Hoover, all the way to where Aurora ends at Beaver and turn and run back. And it was a distance of over 5 miles. He would run that every day. Rain or shine, cold or hot, snowstorms, he would run. He was addicted to that running. In fact, in the summer he painted houses, and he had scaffolding up on a 2-story house, and it collapsed, and he fell, and he broke his arm. And I remember seeing him run. He had the cast on his arm where he couldn't move it, and it was kind of coming off from his chest. And he ran his 5+ miles that day. He had that. He was addicted to that. His brain needed that endorphin release of running. That's something he was born with. His environment didn't make that. The nurture theory holds that genetic influence over abstract traits may exist, however, the environmental factors are the real origins of our behavior. Like in this image here, clearly this child being raised by someone who's homeless is going to have a different life experience than someone who was raised in a very wealthy home. Now, it is true that there are exceptions to that, and someone who was raised in a homeless environment might achieve great things, and someone who was raised in a very wealthy home might end up homeless. But environmental factors play a significant role. The question is, which one is bigger? Or do they play equal roles? And this is an important question we're going to continue to look at throughout this unit. Sociobiology is the study of how biology influences human behavior. It assumes that the behaviors that best help people are biologically based and transmitted in the genetic code over the course of human evolution. You behave in a way that best keeps the species going. Now, there is some criticism of sociobiology. The importance placed on genetics could be used as justification, and has been used as justification, to label specific races as inferior or superior. And there is too much variation in societies around the world for human behavior to be explained on strictly biological grounds. This is just a brief introduction to this idea of culture. And I know that we spent the second half of this talk talking about biology and genetics, but that's because this is really about how we are what we are, and one component of that is the genetics, and one component of that is your environment. Your culture is your environment. And that's your big show for today.